Hello and welcome to Stretford. Paddock, it's Friday the 4th of October. There's loads of news to get through today. A little bit of reaction from last night, looking back at some of the things that happened as Manchester United drew 3-3 to Porto in Porto. A result that on paper may not be the worst thing in the world, but looking at the performance following the results that we've had this season, it's another blemish on the mark of this club and Manchester United players and Manchester United's manager. It's just not looking good at the moment, is it? Marcus Rashford has spoken out after that bizarre substitution, after he got a goal and an assist in the first half, hooked off at half-time. We'll get into what exactly happened there. Get your thoughts in the comments, what we are seeing at Manchester United at the minute. Frank de Boer's stuck his nose in, despite the fact that he's the worst Premier League manager of all time. Joe Cole as well, and we've got a little bit of a nice moment from Sir Alex Ferguson coming up later on as well. So there's plenty to tune in for. Let me just put it that way. There's plenty to stick around for. Get your thoughts in the comments. Let's use this as a little bit of a therapy session. It's the morning after the night before. United once again dropped points, just 2 wins in 9 games so far this season. 1 win in 10 in Europe under Ten Hag. This is the life we chose, everyone, or the life that was bestowed onto us by friends and family members. And if anything, it's them we should be mad at. It's our dads and our cousins and our mums and our sisters who made us United fans in the first place. That's who we should all be mad at in all of this. Why couldn't we just have been Real Madrid fans, where the worst it gets is we don't win a Champions League for 2 years? Anyway, let's start with Marcus Rashford. And he spoke after the game let's just go back a little bit. Let's explain. Let's set this up a little bit. So Marcus Rashford gets a goal and assist in the first half for Manchester United, looking very sharp on the ball, and I think in a couple of the games this season so far, and namely the FC20 game last week and the game yesterday against Porto, Rashford's had an extra sharpness to him. He's had that Rashford on a good season look, which is the thing we've all wanted to see. On the ball, he gets it, he's sprinting, he's driving, he's going for his man, he's doing skills. He did a, little flip-flap elastico through the defender's legs against FC20 last week. When he gets the ball, he's forward, he's on the front foot. Perfect. This is what we want, Marcus. Thank you. We've been asking for this for 13 months, and we're so glad to see it. Goals and assists racking up as well, 1 of each yesterday. But defensively, between him and Dalot, the balls that came in from that side of the pitch was a disaster. And it was literally a disaster because it cost us 2 goals. 2 of the 3 goals we conceded yesterday were down to crosses from that side. They put 5 or 6 in total in that first half, most of which looked very dangerous. And it's not all on Marcus Rashford, of course. There's other players in there. You've got Christian Eriksen coming over. You've got Dalot, like I said, as the fullback. The whole shape needs to support it. But there were times, undoubtedly, where Marcus Rashford could have done more. He's jumping, he's turning his back, he's not close enough to his man, he's not tracking back properly. These are sort of staple points of being a modern winger. You shouldn't be, sprinting into your own box time and time again trying to tackle their winger, but you should hold the structure in a certain way so that you can't continually pepper your team's box, or the opposition can't pepper your team's box with dangerous cross after dangerous cross. We weren't cutting that out. So if Ten Hag had come out after the game and said, we took him off because despite what he did going forward, there were some things defensively there where he just wasn't covering. He wasn't doing the job defensively, and we all have to do things at both ends of the pitch. If he'd have said that, my brain would go, bit critical, but you're fighting for your job, Eric, and he's not doing the things you're saying that he should. And I get it. I understand that. Maybe it even makes the manager look a bit strong. I'm sure the newspapers would find a way to spin it. He's desperate, he's falling out with his players, da-da-da-da-da. But if he'd have said, we're sticking to our principles, if you aren't doing it at both ends of the pitch, you don't play, I can accept that. He didn't say that. Instead, as you can see there, he came out after the game and said, we have to rotate. Garnacho, we didn't start him. He had a great game not only on Sunday, but I think the whole season, and so we shook them. On Sunday, we have another game, another hard game, good game. So we need players to be available and fit and fresh. He's basically said, just resting his legs and that. Rashford's played half a game of football. He needs a break now. I get it if it was 2-0 up. If we were 3-0 up and you go, bloody hell, we can rest him. Great. But you've either taken him off because you're unhappy with his performance or not. I genuinely don't believe that we just thought, just rotate him, save him for Sunday now. We've got a game to win here. Surely Ten Hag knows that you've gone from 2-0 up to 2-2. If you lose this game 4-2, 5-2, which was, more than possible with the United defending these days, you're sacked. How can you be saving unless there's an injury or a niggle or something with Rashford? We go, the numbers on his vest or whatever are showing that he's out. Whatever, all these data, these metrics that they're looking at behind the scenes on these infinite number of tripods and iPads set up around the dugout. If they're seeing something there, but again, he hasn't said that. It's bizarre to me that you would just rest a player at half time as well. It's not 60 minutes, 70 minutes. You just bring him off when he's your most productive creative player. It's bizarre to me. Alex King says all he does is lie, get rid. Dread79 says gave up on Rashford a while back, but that was mental taking him off. Ten Hag felt stony cold when he said that. I reckon he was hiding something, says Notch. I agree with you, Notch, honestly. How often do you see that? Unless you're maybe 3+ goals up, people rotating and resting someone for the weekend at half time in a game that could possibly be must-win for your career, and you're bringing off the player that's created both of your goals for no reason. And I hate to be someone that's sort of stirring crap up and coming up with conspiracy theories, because I think most of the time it's nonsense and it's unnecessary. But I just don't see a world where that's the truth, personally. And Marcus Rashford spoke out about the game generally on social media. He said, bittersweet. I'm happy to learn that I've broken into the top 5 scorers in Europe for United, but I'm gutted that we never managed to win tonight. Not mentioning the substitute directly there, or the substitution directly there, should I say. I just don't get it. Personally, I don't get it. If you're Marcus Rashford, would you want to come off at half-time when you've got a goal and assist? When the last 12 months of your career have had very few of either. You've got a goal and assist, you're getting the better of your fullback, the keeper's had a couple of clangers, which, maybe you wouldn't have predicted and maybe you can't replicate over a full 90 minutes. But he's getting in the box and he's cutting inside. He had the one just before half-time as well where he squared up his man, went inside and had the centre of the box to play with. Could have easily got another goal or two in that second half and he gets taken off. Fair enough if it's for the defensive stuff, but I just feel like Ten Hag trying to defend or trying to protect any signs of cracks or weaknesses or discomfort within the dressing room, he's ended up looking like an idiot or like a liar. I think there's a line, isn't there? You can't just be purely positive all the time, especially when everyone else in the world knows that what's happening at Man United isn't positive at the minute. Just say, you have to track at both ends of the pitch. You have to do the job at both ends. We love the goals and assists, but we were too fragile on that side for their crosses into the box, so we wanted to make a change. Even that, you don't have to criticise Rashford particularly. Just indicate that both ends of the pitch need tending to, and we thought Garnacho could do that a little bit better. That's all it needs. And then you don't look like an absolute nutter pretending that you're sort of resting someone for the weekend when you're 2-2 in a game that you've just dropped a 2-goal lead in. It's just bizarre to me, and it just felt like the wrong thing for Ten Hag to do. Danikan says, is it possible he's just carrying something and Ten Hag doesn't want to advertise it? That is possible. That is possible, yeah. And that's a tricky situation for him because, like you said, if he's got a bit of a knock or a sore hip or a sore knee, and maybe you don't want Aston Villa knowing about it, what do you say? We need to take him off. We think he'll be fit for Sunday. It's not because it's not because his performance. It's not because we've had a falling out. It's not because we're resting him per se. That would put him in a position that is almost impossible, I guess. So maybe it's that. That's a good point. Alex King says, what's hilarious is we conceded from the left side almost straight after. There's a great chat in the watch along, and I haven't gone back and checked this, but just reading through my mind quickly, I think there's some truth to it. They said that 11 of the 12 goals United have conceded this season have come from that United's left-hand side. And I don't know if you'd include the Van der Ven one in there because it was crossed from our right-hand side but put in from our left-hand side. And a lot of balls, if you're crossing it in, at some point they're interacting with both sides of the pitch. But you think of those Liverpool goals, all of them came down our left-hand side. The goals last night, all of them came down our left-hand side. The Tottenham's second goal was a cross, so a corner, so that doesn't necessarily count. But a lot of the goals are coming from that side, aren't they? That Dalot and Rashford side. Not just necessarily all their fault, and a lot of players have good players on their right-hand side, but interesting that that's happening. And maybe it's just as simple as we need a left-back. Dalot's had a couple of stinkers. He's not a left-back. And we expect him to be at the same level as he is at right-back, at left-back. He's not a left-back. Anyway, Rashford's disappointed. We're all disappointed. Marcus also says Lisandro Martinez has been awful. He's not been good enough at all. And he got exposed, and De Ligt got exposed last night as well. And again, when you see players routinely and repeatedly exposed like they were last night, you have to look at the full picture. Because none of these players are bad individually, but when you're being exposed and exploited structurally, whether that be the tactics from the manager or just the way the team is playing around you, selfishness from certain players, a lack of understanding from other players. But typically, if one player or two players are being exposed time and time and time again, it's not just their fault. Usually. Obviously, if it's clanger after clanger, then you can blame like their keeper last night. It's his fault. But like last season, Casemiro wasn't the only reason why he was getting exposed in the middle of the pitch with 40 yards around him with no one else in it. That's not just his fault. It's a structural issue. De Ligt and Martinez last night, the fact that they're always balls over the top running toward their own goal, partly is because the pass before that is given too much time, etc., etc., etc. It all sort of stacks on top of each other, doesn't it? Which is why, when things are going wrong, it can go terribly wrong. Because it's not just, I've missed a tackle there. It's, I've got a 3-on-1 here because you didn't do your job, the tactics weren't right, and you weren't tracking back. Things sort of stack up, especially in modern football where everyone's so technically good. You end up having like terrible, terrible moments time and time and time again, like the amount of times we conceded 3 goals under Ten Hag. Not very good. Let's move on then. What's this one? Arsenal fans. Here we go. Arsenal fans were left fuming at TNT Sports for their social media post, which praised United for scrambling the draw against Porto. This is what we'd like to see. Arsenal fans furious. Look at this. English teams away at Porto in 2024. Porto United 3-3. Porto Arsenal 1-0. There you go. A little bit of a dig at Arsenal fans, finally, from TNT Sports. That's what we need. That's going to make us all feel better, isn't it? That's sorted it. And what it's also done is it's a good one, that, because simultaneously it pisses off Arsenal fans, great, but it's also essentially mocking United fans as well, isn't it? Because it's saying, what are you getting so wound up about? Arsenal couldn't beat these lot. It's nice, that. Very good little zinger from TNT. Probably they're getting 60% of it, but I do feel a 40% jab in my heart as well there. Basically saying, you're crap, but at least you're better than them lot. Which obviously we're not, are we? People talking about Maguire. Marcus says, my mates were buzzing that Maguire scored. I was as well. And the longer he's here, actually, the more I like Maguire. And I don't mean I think he's a better player. My opinion of him as a player hasn't really changed for 2 or 3 years. I think he's a good, very competent Premier League level centre-back with some noticeable weaknesses. But as a human, I think he's a good bloke, Maguire. He doesn't cause a fuss. He's someone that has had no end of stick, to the point of mockery and jeers and boos. When we were on the pre-season tour in Australia and his name got announced, United fans booed him for no reason whatsoever, except he's not he's not a world-class centre-back. And I think that him as a person, obviously they had the stuff in Mykonos, which some of it quite funny. But as a person, he's never come out. There's never been reports of him slagging people off, falling out with people. He's never said, I should be playing. He's always said, I want to get back to my best. I'd love to play. He's always been a professional. And I think that goes underrated, especially when you consider some of the people around him. He was the captain of Man United. And then you look at Sancho, Ronaldo, even Rashford off the pitch. Look at Anthony, fuming, chatting to Gabriel Jesus, annoyed that he's been asked to play left back. The amount of players that have kicked off, that have gone through far less adversity in their United careers than Harry Maguire has, having the captaincy taken off you. And yet, everything you see from him, there's the fingers in the ears for England, but in the grand scheme of things, who cares? So fair play to Harry Maguire, and good on him for getting that goal. And also, forget what you think of Harry Maguire, we needed a point. Like, this Europa League group, I know it's very sort of forgiving of dropping points. I think we're 21st or something, and the top 24 have a chance to get through to the next round. But a loss there is a big difference. Regardless of who the manager is in 6 weeks' time, we want to be getting through and winning the Europa League. So it's a good goal for Harry Maguire, and a helpful one for Man United as well. Let's get to this Frank de Boer piece, because what's he on about? Look at this. Frank de Boer, obviously, Dutch legend as a player, managed Crystal Palace to absolutely woeful effect. Let's just have a look at his time at Crystal Palace again, in case anyone had forgotten before we get into this. Let me just managerial career, Crystal Palace. Let's click on that. There it is. Look. Oh, 10 weeks. Is that all? I go on holiday for more than that. Right. Frank de Boer, once dubbed the worst Premier League manager ever, has slammed Manchester United's stupid mistakes under Erik ten Hag. Ten Hag's Red Devils have begun the 24-25 season. I don't need to read how badly we've done. Let's get into these bloody quotes, eh? Frank de Boer, who lost each of his 4 league games in charge of Crystal Palace in 2017 before being sacked, great, has piled on the criticism of his compatriot Erik ten Hag. He said, having watched them and having now analysed Man United, I can only say that they're in a bad state. United look like a team that are wobbling everywhere. They've been totally outclassed by Tottenham, and I'm talking about being outclassed tactically, in quality, in effort and energy. Weren't they outclassed? Where weren't they outclassed? I was looking at the players one after another, and they made such stupid mistakes. So many players are making poor passes. I was trying to count the amount of big things that went wrong in the first 45 minutes, and it was impossible to count big mistakes on the fingers of 2 hands. You don't need. Why are you counting on your hands like a fucking 4-year-old? Count in your head like an adult. How much rice do you want for dinner? I can only have 10 grains because that's all I can count. What are you on about? Counting on hands for? Like a caveman? Fucking count. Get your iPhone out if you have to. Idiot. Oh, that's it. I've run out now. Shut up. I'm stunned by what I saw in Manchester. It became even more clear how bad United are when I looked the way Tottenham played from the back, how they built things up, always finding a free player, showing guts on the ball and having the right power in a fight for the ball. I found it remarkable how an opponent of United's could play like that. Grow up, mate. Unbelievable. What's his win rate at Crystal Palace? It'll be 20%. It's good. Very good indeed. Well done. Mad that he got the Netherlands job for a little bit after that as well, isn't it? That's interesting, that. Anyway, Joe Cole stuck the knife in now. Great, let's get that up. Pundit Joe Cole has opened up and claimed United will get rid of Erik ten Hag by Christmas, even if the Dutchman managed to pick up a few decent results in the coming weeks. How does he know? Literally, how does he possibly know this? He says it's a really tough part of our job because you get asked about something like this, but at the end of the day, it's Erik ten Hag's livelihood. Correct. He also says for the last 18 months he's been on the ropes so many times and he's pulled a result out. They can go and get results tonight and at the weekend, but I think ultimately the rhythm is not quite there and it's just not getting where it needs to be with Erik. I'd be surprised if he's still in the job at Christmas, and it's never a good part of my job to say things like that, but that's how it looks. You know what? Fine. I don't disagree with anything he said there, and I think he's approached it in a way that is relatively respectful. He's a pundit, he can't not speak about it. That's all right, that. I'll give you that. Joe Cole, fair enough. And I think he'll struggle to be here at Christmas as well. And by Christmas, we mean the international break, don't we, of course? The Christmas that is, as far as England fans like me are concerned, that's the real Christmas. I love international breaks, me. God. Devil Samir says, for a second, here's what I thought you wrote. I thought you wrote, Erik ten Hag should be given time. What you actually said is, Erik ten Hag should serve time. Like we need to be sent to prison for these performances. I love that. Erik ten Hag, 2 things for you. Good news and bad news. The good news, and you're not going to believe this is the good news, you're sacked. What's the bad news? 7 years in jail, mate. Straight to Strange Ways for what you've done. It's literally a crime against football, what we've been doing. Devil Sammy's had enough. Get the bastard in prison. What? Imagine that. I know it's never happened before, but the football's literally been criminal this season. I'm sorry. And the magistrates have, you're done, mate. No case of appeal, not even a single sliver of appeal, because all the lawyers in England are currently trying to get Man City relegated. So we can't even appeal it. 2 years in prison, suspended sentence. Good luck, big boy. Sir Alex Ferguson, a nice thing to end the news on today. And this was, I mean, you can see there, 3-3 to United, Harry Maguire. Just look at this. The shot is one of those, like, excellent shots from a documentary through the faces. Look, there you go. 3-3. He was at the Rangers game. Look at this. Harry Maguire. It's nice, that, isn't it? Isn't it nice? Checking his phone, checking the game. Just the greatest man in everyone's life, isn't he, Sir Alex Ferguson? Unbelievable. He's literally the best person ever. I mean, it's good in a way because no other club, and I mean, obviously Liverpool would say Shankly or Paisley or whatever, but if you support any football team in the world, you haven't got a Sir Alex Ferguson. And we have. That's one thing they can't take away from us. We've got him. And in the era as well, when everything was televised, you can watch it all back. None of this shaky footage from the 60s or the 40s when Tottenham won a couple of league titles or when Sheffield Wednesday won 2 league titles. 13 titles, and every fucking one of them is available to watch back if you want. No one else has got a Sir Alex Ferguson. We've always got that. Right, that's going to be all from me. We're back later on with The Brew. Stephen Howson, Webby and Alex Bagley will be in for that, so it's a good show coming up there, of course, and then all the build-up as well to the game at the weekend, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for joining me. This has been the news on Friday the 4th of October. We'll see you in a bit.